So you're applying to your first teaching position and you're wondering, how do I go about researching different positions that I want to apply to? Maybe you're seeing teachers online talk about how they research different districts, or maybe your professor is telling you how to do it, but you're not quite sure how to go about it. Well, today I'm going to be showing you exactly how myself and my teacher clients have researched schools before an interview so that they can show up confidently and know exactly what to put on their applications, resumes, and cover letters. So with that being said, let's dive.
Hey, teacher bestie. My name's Helena, and I'm the creator of the Present Teacher Podcast. I'm a first year teacher coach, and in this podcast, you are going to learn everything from simple, actionable classroom management, social emotional learning, and teacher wellness strategies. You know that impact you want to make in the classroom? Well, we're going to make it happen here.
So before we dive in, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be using a database that I created inside my program, Land Your Dream Job. Land Your Dream Job is my program helping new and first year teachers prepare to land their dream teaching position in a single weekend. I created this program because I know how important it is as a new teacher to find a district that's going to support you. And so in this program, I talk to you about everything from researching different districts and figuring out which ones are aligned to you, to following up to getting hired by that dream position. So with that being said, if throughout the process you really like what you're seeing or hearing in regards to this database that I created, make sure to check that out inside Land Your Dream Job. I'll make sure to put a link in the description down below. But this is the database I actually used when I started applying as a first year teacher. When I was applying as a first year teacher, I was looking to move from Oregon to New Mexico. And so I really wanted to research different districts, different towns, because I wasn't really familiar with what are good districts around in the areas I wanted to live. So I created this database, and then several years later, some of the clients I was working with, the teachers I was working with, were first year teachers, and they were asking me, how do I go about researching my different districts that I'm applying to make my life easier? That's when I got out this database that I used, and I cleaned it up a little bit, made it a little nicer, and actually made it a template and put it in Land Your Dream Job. So like I said, if you want to access to this template, make sure to check that out in that program, and I'll put a link in the description down below. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you behind the scenes what this database looks like and how I personally and my clients end up researching different districts that they want to apply to. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to pretend that I'm going back in time as a first year teacher, and I'm going to apply. One of the districts I want to apply to is the Portland School District. So that's the one I'm going to be using throughout this process. So, all right, so we're going to go back in time. I'm a first year teacher, and I'm going to show you how I go about applying and researching a school district. I'm going to pretend that I am still in Oregon, and I'm going to apply to the Portland school districts in Oregon, and I'm going to show you and use that as my example. So here we go. First things first, in the column over here, I put the district name. So over here, this could be, you can just sit down and list out all the different ones that you want to apply to. Maybe I might want to go to Salem, so I'm going to put the Salem School District. Some other towns I might want to apply to near Portland is maybe there's Hood River School District. But essentially, I'm just listing out all the different districts I might want to apply to, and I'm going to link them here. And then once I have a list of all the different ones that I might want to apply to or work for, I'm going to start filling out the rest of it. So just brainstorm, all the different schools you want to apply to. Then we're going to go ahead and look up that school district's, that particular school district. So as I said, I'm going to use the Portland Public Schools in Portland, Oregon as my example. So I'm going to go here. I might link it so I can refer back to it later. like I did here. And then the first thing I'm going to look for is the mission. So the reason you want to find the school's mission is because this kind of gives you an idea on what direction the district is going, what values they're looking for, and what their goals are as a district and as a school. So over here, you can look. Let's see, we got the About section. Typically, in the About section on a website, you're going to find more things about the mission statement, and there it is right here, mission statement. We provide rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful. We just disrupt racial inequalities to create vibrant environments for every student to demonstrate excellence. So what I would do is I like to link to the mission statement. I might copy this page and I might put it in this next category so I can refer back to it later. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the mission statement for later. That way in the future, when I decide that I'm ready to start creating my cover letter, my resume, I can go ahead and refer back to this without having to sort through it. So after I do that, we're going to go to the next section where I might, oh, and make sure if you want to find out how I'm going to take this info that we're researching now and put it into a cover letter or resume, make sure to tune in wherever you're joining because in upcoming weeks, I'm going to be showing you how I'm taking this document and creating it and putting it and plugging it into templates that I have that are cover letters and resumes and how to create a cover letter and resume that's specifically tailored to this school and this district. So with that being said, the next statement I like to put in here is the application. So different schools might have different applications depending on where you're applying to. So up here, you can see there's a job section. So I'm going to go through here and here's the link to the application. So I'm going to go ahead and go here. I might copy and paste it into this application section. Another thing I like to look for is who I should contact with questions. So right here, we have this hotline. I might link that to my section. In the previous years when I looked, it was this person I wanted to contact, and here's their email. The reason that I do that is because once I submit an application, I don't have to search through this to find who I need to contact for a follow-up. I can simply go in, use this email, and follow up with them. So that's another section or column I have. Next, we have the niche rating. So as a recap, I've gone through in the first column, I've listed all the different districts I might want to apply to. I went through the first one, I found their public page, I linked to it. I found their mission statement, I linked to it. I found the application process for applying into their general area, and then I found who to contact. That way, when it's time to apply, and who I need to contact as a follow-up, I could do that. Also, depending on what positions, so let's say we go over here and they have positions posted for the new year, I can always list what position I'm applying to, especially for elementary teachers. Maybe you're endorsed K through 6 or K through 12, whatever it is. You can list what position you're applying for specifically if they don't just do a general poll. And then you can put the application deadline. That way you know when you need to apply by. But now that we talked about all those other sections, let's talk about the niche rating. So niche.com is a website I absolutely love using. So niche.com is what I personally used when I was looking to move from Oregon to New Mexico. I didn't know a lot about the towns in New Mexico, so I used this website to kind of give me an idea on the different areas. So a good example is here in New Mexico, we have a town called Santa Fe. If I wasn't sure about Santa Fe in general, I can just look up Santa Fe and it'll tell me a breakdown of that town. So it tells me the overall grade, public schools rating, housing's good for family crime, nightlife and diversity. It tells me the population, homes for sale, the real estate market, the rankings, and crime safety, diversity, what the household income is, and then a breakdown of the schools. And I could always click on these schools if I wanted to dive deeper into maybe a specific school I was applying to. But let's say for this example, I already know where I want to live. So I'm going to look at Portland Public Schools. Oops. Public schools. And I'm going to search that. So we have, or I could just type it in here. That might be Portland Public Schools. And I can go to niche.com. Okay, here it is, niche.com, Portland Public Schools. So this is going to give me a breakdown of the overall grade, and I can compare it to other districts. So over here, you'll see that I linked to niche, and then the overall rating. When I looked, it was this, now it's this, but I can look at the grading, and it gives you a breakdown of everything, and I might copy some important things that are important to me. A good example is I wanted to know how many students were in the district. That way, during my interview, I might refer back to this to show that I really know and I really did my research. I might see the student to teacher ratio. Maybe that's really important to me. I might see how proficient they are in math and reading, the average teacher salary. And then maybe I want to know how many teachers in the district are new or first year teachers, because that shows me one, are a lot of veteran teachers staying? And typically when there's a lot of veteran teachers that are staying in a district, that means that that's a really good district if you don't have a high turnover rate. Or if it has a high first year teacher percentage, maybe that shows me that it might have a really good program, or it's a good question I might want to ask at the end of my interview if it's something that's important to me. I might say, since 3% or 4% of your teachers in your district are first year teachers, what kind of programs do you have to support new and first year teachers, if that's important to me? So going back to this, it gives you the overall niche grade, how it's calculated based off the rest of the world, academics, teachers, diversity, college prep, clubs and activities, and administration, sports, food, resources, and facilities. So it gives you an overall breakdown. It has 44,000 students in grades pre-K through K through 12 with a student ratio of 16 to 1. This is all really good information. I might copy and paste into that section. And then the state test scores, whether or not they're proficient in math and reading, also might be important to know. All right, I might scroll down and then, okay, it's one of, number 12 best schools in the district for athletes in Oregon. It's the most diverse school. It's number 19, best school districts in Oregon, 23. And then it'll show me all the schools right here that I can, click on if there's particular ones. And then it gives me a breakdown of the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. So if there's specific schools that I'm applying to, I can then click on these and it'll give me a breakdown just like this one, but for the specific school. And people can leave reviews, which I really, really like. So if you have a particular school, you're wondering what the community, the teachers, the families are saying about it, you can go and look at the reviews of what people are saying. So then it gives you a breakdown of reading and math, the SAT score, the graduation score, and then popular colleges and their rating overall. The students, how many are on free and reduced lunch. And again, you can go way, way down into this if you want, as far as, ethnicity. And then you can go down to the living areas if you are curious about that, and then the overall reviews. You can look and see, like this one, it has 315 reviews. I can go through and I can start reading about what it's like to work for or work with as a family member or as a student, what it's like in this school district or in the community. So all of these are really, really important, to consider when it comes to applying for a job. So pick a couple of statistics or, whatever's important to you, and you can always copy and paste it if you have access to this, or you get access to this by joining the Land Your Dream Job. You can copy and paste it here, or you can make your own. So with that being said, the position, so we have all that covered, but Let's see. So after you've put the deadline, let's say you applied. In this section, I automatically made an update so that way it adds 2 weeks to however past when you applied for that position. That way you know you need to follow up by that date. In general, I recommend following up anywhere to a week and a half to 2 weeks at the latest after you apply or after an interview. And inside the Land Your Dream Job and inside the Ultimate Teacher Interview Bundle, I give you a full breakdown of how I personally phrase my follow-up. I give you templates. All you have to do is plug and play this information in, and it'll come out with a beautiful follow-up template or email you can just copy and paste right in. That wraps up how I personally research districts before I apply. So, as a recap, first off, I use the database that I implemented or put in Land Your Dream Job, which you can grab by going to the link in the description. The second thing is I used columns for districts that I wanted to apply to as just kind of a brainstorm section. Third thing is I used the mission statement because I'm going to use that later on to help me create my cover letter and my resume and even answer interview questions. The fourth thing was I had the application and contact info. That's why that way once I put the application in, I can go back and follow up with that person on the status of my application. The fourth thing was my niche.com. I like to research the districts in length and detail. That way I can know exactly what's going on, what other people are saying about working at that district or school, and what the overall climate is before I even apply. Oftentimes, when I first started applying, when I was a first year teacher, I applied to, or I had a long list of different districts I wanted to apply to. And then after going through niche.com, I narrowed it down to 3 districts based off of what I read as far as their mission and values and their niche, how they were rating overall. From there, I applied to those 3 positions, and 2 of them called me back for an interview. And on both occasions, I had to teach a model lesson or a demo lesson, and both times I got offered the position during the interview. So, really getting clear on who you want to work for and making sure they're aligned with you can really help mainstream the process as opposed to doing a mass cover letter and resume and application to a lot of different districts and not really tailoring it to fit that district and what they're looking for. So after that, we talked about the position that you're applying for. Maybe there's different grade levels. What grade levels are you applying for? Maybe that'll factor in whether or not you accept that position or apply there because it's not a grade level you actually want to work at. The next thing is application deadline. I liked making this easier so I knew when I wanted to apply to that district or school by, so I didn't miss the deadline. Next thing was the date to follow up. Again, I recommend anywhere from 2 to a week and a half max. No later than that, I recommend following up. And again, if you have the Ultimate Teacher Interview Bundle, you can grab those follow-up templates that I have, just plug in your information and it's good to go. And then feel free to repeat these for every position. That way it mainstreams the application process and you know how to customize each cover letter for each position in one main spot. You can refer back to this if you have an interview coming up. You don't have to do all the research again. You've already linked to it. So all you have to do is look at this database, look at, what their mission statements are, what their values are, refresh yourself and what their grading is so you can, and their stats are. That way when you go into the interview, you're that much more prepared and confident. We also talked about, make sure to keep track of deadlines. I love using this database because when I was applying, I could see, hey, both of the applications end in 2 weeks, or both of these applications end by this weekend. So I really need to get on customizing my cover letter and resume to match that district. Also, how much time you have, and then compare districts that you get an interview from. Like I said, I got 2 interviews, and so using this database, I was able to see between the 2 interviews which one had the position I was really wanting for and which one had the district I really wanted to apply for. That way, I could compare the two, and when I got offered the job, I knew which one, based off of the interview and my research, which one I was leaning towards before, you step in. So, As I said, that wraps up how I personally and I show my clients to research districts before they start applying. If you want to grab the toolkit that I was using throughout this whole process, make sure to go in the description and grab Land Your Dream Job, where I show you how to prepare to land your dream job in an entire weekend or your upcoming teaching position an entire weekend. Also, if you want to dive into more content about interviewing, I have a ton of content wherever you're tuning in from, whether that's the podcast or the YouTube channel, on the interview process. It's something that at first I wasn't really passionate about, but I learned that interviewing is just like having a coffee date with future districts. So I actually end up really liking interview after, applying to two districts, getting hired or offered the position on the spot, being on interview committees, and then later interviewing to switch districts after I was ready to move on from my first district. So after that, if you want to dive deeper and you kind of want me to compile a list of really good, my top interview tips and questions I get about interviewing and my answers to them, make sure to grab the teacher interview guide. In that guide, I answer the top 10 most common questions I get asked in regards to how to interview and about the teacher interview process. And I link to additional podcasts and YouTube videos so you can find them in one easy spot. If you want to learn how I go from researching the district to implementing it into a cover letter template that I have, make sure to subscribe wherever you're tuning in because that's coming up in the following weeks. I'm going to be diving deep into how to take this data and incorporate it into a tailored interview and resume. That way, when you're applying to a district, it really feels like they are really aligned with you and you're exactly what they're looking for. If you want to use my grab and go templates, make sure to grab the Ultimate Teacher Interview templates. Inside, I have things like 10 matching cover letter and resume templates. I come up with the wording for you. All you have to do is add in your particular information, and I talk to you about which section, what to write in each section, so you don't have to think about it. I have requests for letters of recommendation. I have resignation letters in there. I have follow-up templates, all the things you could possibly need in order to prepare and get your next teaching position. And if you want to take us out further, make sure to check out Land Your Dream Job. That's the program that I created because I'm really passionate about helping new teachers find districts that they're going to be aligned with and supported in. So I really wanted to create a program that shows teachers how to find districts that are aligned to them, apply to them, and get into those positions because I want more teachers, really good teachers, to stay in the field if that's what they want, and I want to help them. So make sure to check that out if that's something that interests you. All right. As always, remember, we are stronger together. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions about the interview process, make sure to either send me a DM or drop them in the comments below. I would be happy to answer any interview questions you have. As always, remember, we are stronger together, and I'll see you in the next one, Teacher Bestie. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I hope that you were able to take away some value that will help you thrive inside and out of the classroom. It would mean the world to me if you could take 5 seconds right now and leave a review on this podcast. And if you found this podcast especially helpful, make sure to take a screenshot of this episode right now and tag me on your socials to let me know you're listening. As always, remember that we are stronger together with all the love in the world. Helena, aka the Present Teacher. See you next time, Teacher Bestie.